Captain Hyun stared at the star charts on his ship's main screen. The Steel Horizon was a mining vessel, not a warship. It carried drills and cargo containers, not weapons. For 3 years, Hyun and his crew had pulled valuable minerals from asteroids in the outer regions of known space. It was hard work, but honest work. Today, everything was about to change. "Captain, I'm picking up something strange," Nari said from her station. She was the best navigator Hyun had ever worked with. Her fingers moved quickly across her controls, her face tight with concern. "There's a distress signal coming from inside the restricted zone." Hyun felt his stomach drop. The restricted zone was where 2 alien empires were fighting their war. The Velkari Empire and the Thros Collective had been killing each other for almost 2 years now. The Galactic Council had made rules about it. No other species could interfere. Anyone who entered the war zone would face massive punishment. Earth would lose all its trading rights. Humans would be banned from most of the galaxy. "Play the signal," Hyun ordered. The speakers crackled to life. The voice that came through was broken and desperate. It spoke in the common galactic language, but the fear needed no translation. "This is Civilian Convoy 7 Delta. We are under attack. Both Velkari and Thros forces are firing on us. We have 50,000 non-combatants aboard. Women, children, elderly. Please, someone help us. They're killing us all." The bridge went silent. Hyun looked around at his crew. Tae, the pilot, was gripping his controls so hard his knuckles were white. Mina, the ship's doctor, had tears running down her face. The young engineer June looked like he might be sick. "Captain, we can't," Nari said quietly. "Earth Command was very clear. If we cross that line, we're done. The whole human race pays the price." Hyun knew she was right. He had read the orders himself. He had even agreed with them at the time. Humanity was new to galactic politics. They couldn't afford to make enemies. The Galactic Council had been very clear. This was a regulated conflict between 2 empires. Other species had to stay out of it. No exceptions. Another scream came through the speakers. This time it was a child. "How far are they from our position?" Hyun asked. 20 minutes if we go full speed," Tae answered immediately. "But Captain—" "I know what the rules say," Hyun interrupted. He stood up from his chair and walked to the main viewing window. Outside, stars sparkled in the endless dark. Somewhere out there, thousands of innocent people were dying. Not soldiers, not warriors, just regular people who had been in the wrong place at the wrong time. Hyun thought about his own family back on Earth. His daughter was 7 years old. He thought about her being on a ship like that, scared and crying, while people who could help chose not to because of politics. "Nari, open a channel to Earth Command," he said. "Yes, Captain." A moment later, a stern-faced officer appeared on the screen. Admiral Park had never liked Hyun much. The feeling was mutual. "Captain Hyun, this better be important," Park said. "Admiral, I'm requesting permission to enter the restricted zone for humanitarian rescue," Hyun said formally. Park's expression didn't change. "Request denied. You know the rules, Captain." "We don't interfere." "There are 50,000 civilians dying out there, sir. And there are 40 billion humans who will suffer if we break the Council's rules," Park shot back. "I'm sorry, Captain. I truly am. But the answer is no. You will maintain your current position. That's an order." The transmission ended. Hyun stood there for a long moment not speaking. His crew watched him, waiting. "Captain?" Nari asked softly. "What are we going to do?" Hyun turned to face them. These were good people. They had families too. They had futures to think about. He had no right to risk all of that for strangers. But he also couldn't live with himself if he didn't try. "Tae, set a course for the convoy's last known position," Hyun said. "Maximum speed." "Sir, that's inside the restricted zone," Tae said. But his hands were already moving to input the commands. I know exactly where it is, Hyun replied. Captain, Earth Command will court-martial you for this, Nari warned. We could all face prison time. Then we face it, Hyun said. I didn't become a spacer to watch children die because some politician drew a line on a map. Anyone who wants to leave can take an escape pod now. I'll report that you tried to stop me. No one will blame you. Nobody moved. Tae looked back at him with a fierce grin. Mina wiped her eyes and nodded. Even young June straightened up at his station. We're with you, Captain, Nari said. All of us. Hyun felt something tight in his chest loosen. He sat back down in his captain's chair and pulled up the tactical display. The restricted zone boundary was displayed in red. Beyond it, the icons showing the convoy and the attacking fleets blinked urgently. Then let's go save some lives, Hyun said. They can sanction us after we're done. The steel horizon turned and accelerated toward the forbidden war zone. Behind them, the safe, legal space grew smaller. Ahead of them, chaos and death waited. But also people who needed help. People who needed someone to care when no one else would. That was enough for Hyun. The steel horizon crossed into the restricted zone, and immediately every alarm on the ship started screaming. Tae silenced them with a quick hand movement, but his eyes stayed locked on the navigation display. They were flying into a battlefield. I've got visual on the convoy, Nari reported. Oh God, Captain, it's worse than we thought. Hyun looked at the screen and felt his blood run cold. The civilian ships were clustered together, their hulls torn and burning. Bodies floated in space around them. Velkari warships circled on one side, their weapons still firing. Thros fighters swooped in from the other direction, adding their own destruction to the chaos. Tae, get us between them and those civilian ships, Hyun ordered. On it, Tae replied. His hands danced across the controls. The steel horizon wasn't built for combat flying, but Tae made it move like a dancer anyway. They dove toward the convoy, positioning their ship as a shield. The response was immediate. Both Velkari and Thros forces stopped firing at the civilians. Instead, they started broadcasting warnings at the human ship. Attention, human vessel, a cold Velkari voice announced. You are in violation of Galactic Council law. Depart immediately or be fired upon. A similar message came from the Thros fleet, though their voice sounded more like grinding rocks. The message was the same. Leave or die. Open a channel, Hyun said. All frequencies. I want everyone to hear this. Nari nodded and activated the communications array. Hyun stood up, facing the camera that would broadcast his image across local space. This is Captain Hyun of the human vessel, Steel Horizon. We are here to evacuate civilians who are in immediate danger. We are not taking sides in your war. We are simply refusing to let innocent people die. If you want to continue firing, you'll have to go through us first. The Velkari Admiral responded first. His face appeared on screen, scaled and proud. Human, you have no authority here. These are not your people. This is not your war. Leave now. They're people, Hyun said simply. That's all the authority I need. He cut the transmission. Around him, his crew moved quickly to prepare for rescue operations. Mina organized the medical bay. June rigged the cargo holds to accept refugees. Tae kept the ship positioned perfectly between the civilians and the warring fleets. Captain, the civilian ships are trying to dock with us, Nari said. They're desperate. Some of their life support systems are failing. Let them dock. As many as we can handle, Hyun ordered. The next hour was chaos. Terrified aliens poured into the steel horizon. Velkari, Thros, and a dozen other species that had been caught in the crossfire. Some were wounded. Many were in shock. All of them were grateful. Mina worked without stopping. Treating injuries with supplies meant for a crew of 20, not hundreds of refugees. She never complained. When a young Thros mother thanked her in broken common language, Mina just smiled and moved to the next patient. "Captain, we have a problem," Nari announced. "The Velkari Admiral is positioning his fleet for an attack run." "He wouldn't," Tai said. "We've got civilians aboard now. His own people." "I think that's exactly why he would," Hyun replied grimly. "We're making him look weak. We're showing that humans care more about Velkari civilians than the Velkari military does." The tactical display confirmed it. 6 Velkari warships were moving into attack formation. They were going to make an example of the Steel Horizon. "Tay, how good are you at flying a mining ship like it's a fighter?" Hyun asked. "I guess we're about to find out," Tay replied with a grim smile. The Velkari ships opened fire. Tay threw the Steel Horizon into a spin that made the gravity systems scream in protest. Energy beams passed through the space where they had been just seconds before. Tay was good, maybe too good. He flew the mining ship through the attack like he had been born for it. "Nari, start deploying mining charges," Hyun ordered. "Set them for proximity detonation." "That's brilliant," Nari said, already working. Mining charges were designed to break apart asteroids, but they could also make a very effective minefield. She launched them in a spread pattern, creating a wall of explosives between the Steel Horizon and the attacking ships. The Velkari Admiral wasn't expecting it. 2 of his ships flew right into the field. The explosions weren't enough to destroy the warships, but they damaged their sensors and forced them to break off the attack. "This is insane," June said from engineering. "We're fighting warships with mining equipment." "It's working, though," Tay replied, spinning the ship again to avoid another volley. But Hyun knew they couldn't keep this up forever. They were outgunned and outnumbered. Eventually their luck would run out. Then something unexpected happened. A new ship appeared on the sensors. It was human, a destroyer from Earth's defense fleet. "Attention all vessels," a calm voice announced. "This is Commander Sung of the EDF Righteous Fury. We are on a training exercise in this sector and have noticed some unusual activity. We will be investigating." Hyun couldn't help but laugh. A training exercise. Right in the middle of the restricted zone. It was the most transparent excuse he had ever heard, and he loved it. The Righteous Fury moved to position alongside the Steel Horizon. It was a real warship, with actual weapons and shields. The Velkari fleet hesitated, clearly uncertain about attacking an Earth military vessel. "Captain Hyun, this is Sung," the destroyer commander said on a private channel. "My superiors are going to be very angry about this. I apparently misunderstood my orders and brought my ship to entirely the wrong coordinates." "It's an easy mistake to make," Hyun replied, trying to keep his voice steady. "Thank you, Commander." "Thank us by saving as many as you can," Sung said. "I have a feeling we're not the only ones who are about to misunderstand our orders." He was right. Over the next few hours, more human ships appeared. Freighters, private yachts, even a tourist cruiser. All of them claimed they were lost or confused or had equipment malfunctions. All of them positioned themselves to help with the rescue. The Velkari and Thros forces watched in apparent disbelief as humans swarmed into their war zone. They broadcast demands and threats, but they didn't fire. Perhaps they were too surprised. Perhaps they realized how bad it would look to attack obvious rescue vessels. By the time the sun rose on the nearest planet, the Steel Horizon had transferred all its refugees to larger transport ships. Tens of thousands of civilians were safe, and more human ships were still arriving. Hyun stood on his bridge, exhausted but satisfied. They had done it. They had saved lives that everyone else had been willing to sacrifice to politics. "Captain, Earth Command is broadcasting again," Nari said. "Admiral Park is ordering all human vessels to withdraw immediately." Hyun walked to the communication console and looked at the screen showing Park's angry face. He reached out and very deliberately closed the channel. "Captain?" Nari asked quietly. "We're not done here," Hyun said. "There are more people who need help. We're staying." Around him, his crew nodded their agreement. They had crossed the line. They might as well cross it all the way. 3 days after the Steel Horizon entered the restricted zone, over 200 human ships had joined them. Nobody had ordered them to come. Nobody had given them permission. They just came. Hyun stood in the makeshift command center aboard a hastily converted cargo station. Around him, screens showed the positions of human vessels spread across dozens of systems. Mining ships, freighters, private yachts, even a few tourist cruisers that had been expensive luxury vessels just last week. Now they were all part of something bigger. "This is incredible," Commander Sung said, studying the displays. The military officer had officially been court-martialed 3 days ago. He wore his discharge papers as a badge of honor. "We've evacuated over 3 million civilians so far, both Velkari and Thros. And we're making both empires look like monsters in the process," Nari added. She had taken charge of coordinating the rescue operations, her navigator skills translating perfectly to logistics. "Every news network in the galaxy is covering this. They're calling us the Conscience Fleet." Hyun didn't care about the name. He cared about the refugee camps they had established in neutral space. He cared about the fact that children were sleeping safely instead of dying in burning ships. But he also knew the situation couldn't last. "What about Earth?" he asked. "How bad is the political situation?" "Bad," a new voice answered. Yuna walked into the command center, looking tired but determined. She had been Earth's ambassador to the Galactic Council until yesterday, when she resigned. Now she was here, having used her personal fortune to fund an entire fleet of rescue ships. "The Council is demanding we recall all human vessels immediately. They're threatening to ban humanity from half the trade routes in the galaxy." "And what is Earth saying?" Hyun asked. Yuna smiled grimly. "Officially, Earth Command is furious and ordering everyone home. Unofficially, Admiral Kwan is bringing a fleet for a training exercise near this sector, 25 military ships. He's apparently terrible at reading maps." That was the pattern now. Earth's government publicly condemned the rescue operations, while individual humans kept joining anyway. Officers misread orders. Civilians had equipment failures that brought them to exactly where they were needed. It was the worst-kept secret in the galaxy. "Captain, we have a problem," Tay called from a communication station. "Both the Velkari and Thros are broadcasting a joint message. They want to negotiate." Everyone in the command center went quiet. The two empires had been killing each other for 2 years. They had never agreed on anything. Until now. The screen activated, showing 2 faces. The Velkari admiral and a Thros commander, standing side by side. They looked like they would rather be shooting each other, but they had found something they hated more than each other. "Humans," the Velkari admiral began, his scaled face twisted with anger. "You have violated galactic law. You have interfered in a regulated conflict. You have embarrassed both our empires in front of the entire galaxy. This ends now." The Thros commander continued, his rocky voice grinding out each word. "We are putting aside our differences to address this threat. 800 of our combined warships are converging on your position. You have 12 hours to withdraw every human vessel from this sector. If you do not, we will remove you by force." The screen went dark. For a long moment, nobody spoke. 800 warships, June said quietly. The young engineer had become Hyun's assistant over the past few days. "Captain, we can't fight that. Most of our ships don't even have weapons." "We can't run either," Mina said. She had barely slept in 3 days, treating wounded refugees. "We still have 2 million civilians on these stations. If we leave, both empires will kill them to save face." Hyun walked to the window, looking out at the scattered fleet of human vessels. Miners, traders, families who had brought their personal ships to help. They had all risked everything because it was the right thing to do. Now, he had to figure out how to keep them alive. "Nari, can we evacuate everyone in 12 hours?" he asked. "Not even close," Nari replied. "We'd need at least 2 days, maybe 3. Then we need to buy time," Sung said. The former commander looked at Hyun. "What are you thinking?" Hyun turned back to face his people. An idea was forming in his mind. It was crazy. It might get them all killed. But it was the only chance he could see. "We can't win a fight," he said slowly. "We're not soldiers. We're not warriors. But we can make them face what they're really doing." "I don't understand," Yuna said. "They want to kill refugees to save face," Hyun explained. "Fine. But we're going to make them do it on camera. We're going to make the whole galaxy watch. We position our ships as shields around every refugee station. We broadcast everything. If they want to murder millions of civilians, they'll have to go through us first. Every death, every explosion, every crying child. The entire galaxy sees it in real time." The room was silent as everyone absorbed the plan. They would be human shields, literally putting their bodies between the aliens and their own people's weapons. "That's insane," Tay said. "Some of them will fire anyway. We could lose hundreds of ships, thousands of people." "I know," Hyun said quietly. "But if we run, we lose millions. And if we fight, we lose everything. This way, we have a chance. Public opinion is powerful. If the whole galaxy sees what these empires are willing to do, it might be enough to stop them." "And if it's not enough?" June asked. "Then we die doing the right thing," Mina said firmly. "I'm in." One by one, the others nodded. Sung, despite being a trained military officer, agreed. Yuna, who had spent her career in politics, agreed. Even young June, who had never expected to be in this situation, stood up straight and agreed. "All right," Hyun said. "Nari, send a message to every human ship. Explain the plan. Make it clear that they can leave if they want. This has to be voluntary." Over the next few hours, Nari transmitted the message across the entire fleet. The response came back quickly. Out of 212 ships, only 7 decided to withdraw. The rest repositioned themselves around the refugee stations, forming human shields. As the deadline approached, Hyun made one last broadcast. He addressed it to the entire galaxy. "My name is Hyun. I'm not a soldier. I'm not a politician. I'm just a mining ship captain who couldn't stand by and watch innocent people die. Behind me are 200 human vessels, crewed by volunteers who feel the same way. We have positioned ourselves between the refugee stations and the incoming fleets. If the Velkari and Thros want to kill their own civilians, they'll have to kill us first. We're not moving. We're not fighting. We're just standing in the way. Let's see if conscience means anything in this galaxy." He ended the transmission and waited. The 800 warships arrived exactly on schedule, spreading across the sector like a wall of death. For a long minute, nothing happened. Then the weapons systems on the alien ships began to glow, charging up for firing. "Here they come," Tay said quietly. Yun closed his eyes and thought of his daughter, safe on Earth. He hoped she would understand why her father had done this. The alien fleets opened fire. The first volley hit 47 human ships. Hyun watched on the screens as the vessels exploded in brilliant flashes of light. Each flash was a ship full of people, volunteers who had come to help strangers, men and women who had families waiting at home, all gone in an instant. "Stay in position," Hyun broadcast to the remaining fleet. His voice was steady, even though his hands were shaking. "Do not return fire. Do not move. Let them see what they're doing." More ships died. The Morning Star, a freighter captained by a woman named Hana, who had 3 children. The Prosperity, a mining vessel crewed by a retired couple. The Hope's Light, a private yacht donated by a billionaire who had decided his money should mean something. Each death was broadcast across every communication channel in the galaxy. Millions of people watched as humans died protecting aliens. The camera feeds showed everything: the explosions, the debris, the bodies floating in space. But they also showed something else. They showed the human ships that survived, holding their positions, not fighting back, not running, just standing between the weapons and the civilians. "Captain, the Velkari fleet is hesitating," Nari reported. Her voice was tight with emotion, but she kept working. "Some of their ships have stopped firing." "Same with the Thros," Sung added. "I'm seeing multiple ships powering down their weapons." On one of the screens, Hyun saw something that gave him hope. A Velkari warship had broken formation. Its captain was broadcasting to the fleet, arguing against the attack. Before Hyun could hear what was being said, the ship was destroyed by its own allies, murdered for refusing to kill. But the act of defiance spread. More Velkari ships stopped firing. More Thros vessels powered down. The United Fleet was starting to fracture. Aboard the Steel Horizon, Mina was treating wounded from a nearby ship that had been hit. A young human man named Day had lost his arm, but he was still alive. As Mina worked on him, a Velkari refugee approached. It was a soldier, one of the ones they had rescued days ago. He was crying. "Why?" the Velkari asked in broken human language. "Why you die for us? We not your people. You not even know us." Mina looked up from her work, her hands covered in Day's blood. "Because someone has to give a damn," she said simply. "Someone has to care. If not us, then who?" The Velkari soldier stood there, tears streaming down his scaled face. Then he turned and walked back to the refugee area. Hyun would later learn that the soldier immediately sent a message to his family back on the Velkari homeworld, telling them about the humans who died to save him. That message was shared millions of times. "Captain, we're getting reports from both empires," Yuna announced. She was monitoring the civilian networks, watching public opinion shift in real time. "There are protests, huge protests. Velkari civilians are marching against their government. Thros workers are staging strikes. They're all saying the same thing: stop the attack." "The Galactic Council is in emergency session," Nari added. "It's chaos. Half the representatives are calling for intervention. The other half are trying to maintain the non-interference rules." But the killing hadn't stopped. More human ships died every minute. The count was up to 93 now, almost 100 ships, thousands of people. The galaxy was watching, and the galaxy was changing, but people were still dying. Then something unexpected happened. A group of Velkari warships broke formation completely and positioned themselves between their own fleet and the humans. They weren't attacking, they were protecting. Their own people were shooting them, but they held position. "This is Commander Rolt," a Velkari voice broadcast. "I will not kill civilians. I will not kill those who protect civilians. If my empire has become so lost that we murder the innocent and those who defend them, then my empire doesn't deserve my service." More ships joined him. Both Velkari and Thros. Dozens of warships abandoned their fleets and formed a protective wall around the humans and refugees. The tide was turning, but not everywhere. Some ships kept firing, rogue elements who refused to stop, who saw retreat as weakness. They were fewer now, but they were fanatics, and fanatics were dangerous. One of those rogue ships targeted a refugee station directly. It launched a full spread of missiles, enough to destroy the entire structure and everyone inside. Over 100,000 civilians were about to die. Commander Sung saw it happening. The Righteous Fury was the closest ship, and it was the only vessel with enough firepower to stop the missiles. But there wasn't time to shoot them all down. There was only one option. "It's been an honor serving with you all," Sung said calmly over the command channel. Then he cut the transmission and flew the Righteous Fury directly into the missile spread. The explosion was massive. The Righteous Fury and its crew of 83 were vaporized instantly. but the missiles were destroyed. The refugee station was safe. Hyun closed his eyes, feeling the weight of another sacrifice. Sung had been a good man, a good officer. He had thrown away his career to help, and now he had given his life. But his sacrifice wasn't in vain. The death of the righteous Fury was the breaking point. Within minutes, both the Velkari and Thros fleets received direct orders from their homeworlds. Stand down, cease fire immediately. The orders came from new governments. The old leaders had been overthrown by their own people, who were sick of the killing. Most of the ships obeyed. A few didn't, the last holdouts clinging to the old ways. But now they were alone, and the combined human-alien protective fleet moved against them. The rogue ships were disabled quickly, their crews taken into custody by their own people. After 6 hours of combat, the shooting finally stopped. The silence felt strange after so much chaos. Hyun stood in the command center, looking at the final casualty reports. 8,000 humans dead, over 200 ships destroyed or crippled. It was a terrible price, but they had saved 3.7 million civilians, Velkari, Thros, and dozens of other species caught in the crossfire. "Captain, Earth is broadcasting," Nari said. "It's not Admiral Park this time." The screen showed an older woman in civilian clothes. Hyun recognized her as the President of Earth. "To all humans in the rescue fleet," she began. "Your actions were unauthorized. You violated direct orders. You ignored diplomatic protocols. And you showed the entire galaxy what humanity truly stands for. I cannot officially condone what you did. But speaking as a human being, not a president, I am proud of every single one of you. Come home. Your planet is waiting." Hyun felt something break inside him. The grief he had been holding back crashed over him like a wave. Around him, his crew was crying, not just from sadness, but from relief. They had done it. Against all odds, they had actually done it. "Let's go home," Hyun said quietly. The war ended not with a treaty, but with mass desertions. Soldiers on both sides simply stopped fighting. They had watched humans die to save their civilians, and they couldn't pretend the war had any meaning anymore. Within 2 weeks, both the Velkari Empire and the Thros Collective had new governments. The old leaders were in prison or exile, charged with crimes against their own people. Captain Hyun spent those 2 weeks helping with the final evacuations. Every refugee was returned home safely. Every human ship that could still fly made the journey back to human space. The damaged vessels were towed by volunteers. Nobody was left behind. But not everyone went home. 8,000 humans never would. Their bodies were recovered when possible, treated with respect by the very aliens they had died to save. The Velkari and Thros both offered to bury the fallen with full military honors in their own capital cities. Hyun politely declined. The dead belonged to humanity, not to the empires that had killed them. A month after the shooting stopped, Hyun received a summons. The Galactic Council wanted to discuss humanity's future. Specifically, they wanted to discuss sanctions, punishment for breaking their sacred non-interference rules. Hyun traveled to the council station with a small delegation. Nari came as his advisor. Tai insisted on being the pilot, despite having nightmares about the battle. Mina joined them, representing the medical volunteers. And Yuna came back out of retirement. Her diplomatic skills needed one last time. The council chamber was enormous, filled with representatives from hundreds of species. As Hyun and his team entered, they could feel the weight of thousands of eyes on them. Some looked at them with respect, others with anger, many with fear. Humanity had broken the rules and nobody knew what to do about it. The council leader, a floating creature named Ven who spoke through a translator, addressed them first. "Captain Hyun, your species has committed a severe violation of galactic law. You interfered in a regulated conflict. You ignored our authority. You encouraged others to break our rules. What do you have to say for yourselves?" Hyun stood up slowly. He had thought a lot about what to say. He had written speeches and thrown them away. In the end, he decided to just tell the truth. "We saved 3.7 million lives," he said simply. "You had rules that said we couldn't do that. Your rules were wrong. We broke them. We'd do it again." The chamber erupted in argument. Some species demanded harsh punishment. Others called for understanding. The debate raged for hours. Finally, Ven called for silence. "The Council proposes the following sanctions," Ven announced. "Humanity will be banned from 70% of galactic trade routes for 10 years. Human vessels will be restricted from—" "No," Yuna said, standing up. Her voice cut through the chamber like a blade. "Excuse me?" Ven said, clearly not used to being interrupted. "I said no," Yuna repeated. "You can't sanction us. You have no leverage. The entire galaxy watched what happened. They saw humans die to save people you were willing to let die. They saw your rules protect murder. If you try to punish us, your own people will tear this council apart." "That's not how galactic politics works," another council member argued. "It is now," Yuna replied. "Humanity has changed the rules. We've shown that conscience matters more than politics. Try to sanction us if you want. We'll ignore it, and we'll keep doing what's right. We don't need your permission." The council chamber went silent. Nobody had ever spoken to the council like that, but nobody could argue with the truth of her words either. Hyun stood beside Yuna, backing her up. "We're not asking to join your council," he said. "We're not asking for special treatment. We're just demanding one thing, a conscience clause. Any species should be allowed to intervene when civilians are being killed. No sanctions, no punishment. Just let people do the right thing." The debate that followed lasted 3 days. The council was split. Some species supported the idea. Others saw it as the end of their authority. In the end, they voted. The conscience clause passed by a narrow margin. It wasn't everything Hyun had hoped for. The wording was weak, full of conditions and exceptions. But it was a start. It was proof that humanity had changed something fundamental. As they prepared to leave the council station, a young Velkari approached Hyun. It was the soldier Mina had spoken to, the one who had asked why humans would die for aliens. "Captain Hyun," the Velkari said formally, "my name is Kret. I wanted you to know something. On our homeworld, there is a movement. Young people mostly. We're working to rebuild our society, to make it better, to make it worthy of what you did for us. We call ourselves the Conscience Movement. We wanted you to know that your sacrifice meant something." Hyun felt tears in his eyes. "It wasn't a sacrifice," he said. "It was just the right thing to do." "That's what makes it matter," Kret replied. 1 year later, Hyun stood before a memorial on a neutral station. It was a massive wall made of polished black stone, inscribed with 8,000 names. Every human who had died in the rescue. The names were written in multiple languages so every species could read them. At the bottom of the memorial was a phrase in Korean, then translated into Galactic Common. Hyun had chosen the words himself. "Ingani hainetta," it read in Korean. Below that, in simple Galactic Common, humanity did what was right. Hyun wasn't alone. Nari stood beside him as she always did. Tai was there with his family. Mina had brought some of the refugees she had treated, who had become her friends. Hundreds of others had come to pay their respects. Humans, Velkari, Thros, and dozens of other species, all united by what had happened here. A small Velkari child approached Hyun. She couldn't have been more than 6 years old. Her parents had died in the war, but she had survived because of the rescue. She looked up at him with large, curious eyes. "Are you Captain Hyun?" she asked in careful human language. "Yes," Hyun replied, kneeling down to her level. My teacher says humans will always protect us. Is that true? Will you always keep us safe? Hyun thought about how to answer that. He thought about the 8,000 names on the wall behind him. He thought about all the humans who had risked everything for people they had never met. He thought about what it meant to be human. We'll protect anyone who needs it, he said finally. Not because we're heroes, not because we want something in return. Just because it's right. That's what makes us human. The little girl smiled and hugged him. As Hyun held her, he looked up at the memorial wall, at all those names, all those people who had been willing to die for strangers. The galaxy had thought humans would stay out of their conflicts. The galaxy had thought wrong. Humanity had shown them what conscience looked like, what it cost, and why it mattered. The galaxy would never forget. From that day forward, when civilian populations were threatened anywhere in known space, a call would go out. Sometimes it was official, through proper channels. More often it was just a desperate message broadcast into the void. But the words were always the same. We need help. Is anyone listening? Are the humans there? And the answer was always yes. Humanity was listening. Humanity cared. And humanity would come, regardless of the cost, regardless of the politics, regardless of the consequences. Because 8,000 people had taught the galaxy a lesson that could never be unlearned. Some things mattered more than rules. Some things mattered more than politics. Some things mattered more than fear. Conscience mattered. People mattered. Doing the right thing mattered. That was the human way, and the galaxy was better for it.